All right, a couple of topics I want to cover, but I want to go back to the education issue for just a moment. The Michigan Democrats, the Democratic Party, went after parents, and this was a post. They've now taken this post down, and this is from a Fox News piece. The Democratic Party put up a post on Saturday on their official Facebook page criticizing parents who want to play a role in what public education teaches their children. Now, the post was deleted yesterday after they took a little bit of criticism, and rightfully so. But I just want to read this to you because I don't think that these types of statements, just like the former Terry McAuliffe, who was the candidate running for the Democratic candidate running against Glenn Youngkin, made the comment that parents don't have a right to speak into education. I don't think those are slip-ups. I think it's just they're being candid. And I think we're seeing more and more of this because of the arrogance of the left. And here's the statement. This was the Democratic Party in Michigan, had this on their Facebook page. Not sure where this parents should control what is taught in school because they are our kids is originating. But parents do have the option to send their kids to a hand-selected private school at their own expense if this is what they desire, the post read. It went on to say this. Now get this. The purpose of public education in public schools is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught, the Michigan Democratic Party post continued. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community, the public, end quote. You talk about socialism. I've got news for you. It's the parents who pay the taxes that fund our public schools. We have public schools because we have taxpayers, and we've decided, well, I didn't decide it, but I think public education is one of the worst things that's happened to this country in the last 50 years because the left has taken over. This is the mindset. We see it repeatedly. These are not mistakes. These are admissions. These are very telling, candid statements of their commitment. So I think, look, I am so thrilled to see what parents are doing across the country getting involved in education. Glenn Youngkin would not be governor of Virginia if it were not for parents, I think primarily in Loudoun County, that got the ball rolling. And you can do the same in your community. I think education needs to be at the forefront of the conversation. Parents, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, God gave parents the responsibility and He gave them the responsibility to teach their children and to train them up in the way they should go. And they are the ones. You cannot, you can delegate the authority, but you cannot delegate the responsibility. You can let the public schools teach, but God will hold you accountable. And ultimately, as parents, we're the ones that will either rejoice because our children made the right decisions, or we will mourn because they did not, because they were misdirected and misguided by the indoctrination of the schools. So this is the moment. Be involved. All right, another topic I want to hit on very quickly is this past Sunday was Religious Freedom Day. Now, in his proclamation for the day, President Biden wrote this. He says, "In my life, faith has always been a beacon of hope and a calling to purpose, as it is for so many Americans. And I believe that protecting religious freedom is as important now as it has ever been. We must continue our work to ensure that people of all faith or none," and I'm not sure why we throw that in there on Religious Freedom Day, "are treated as full participants in society, equal in rights and dignity. We can only fully realize the freedom we wish for ourselves by helping to ensure liberty for all." Join me now to talk about what has been accomplished or what has been diminished under the first year of the Biden administration as it pertains to religious freedom is David Closson, director of FRC Center for Biblical Worldview. David, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be with you, Tony.
So let's just start with this fundamental question. So why is Religious Freedom Day and religious freedom so important in our day and age?
Yeah, so important. Religious freedom, the freedom to believe what you want to in terms of doctrine and theology, and the freedom to order your life in accordance with those deeply held beliefs. It's not just freedom of worship, the idea that you can believe what you want to in the four walls of your church or synagogue or mosque, but the ability to live your life according to those deeply held values. And this country, since 1993, actually, Tony, has acknowledged the importance of our first freedom by having Religious Freedom Day. And so ever since 1993, every president will issue a proclamation really just underscoring why this freedom is so important. And I read the president's proclamation. He had some good things in there. He rightfully noted that religious freedom is the cornerstone of this nation. He went on to say that it's a vital aspect of our American character. But you read rhetoric like that, and you look what he's done in the last year, and it's really hard to get excited about what he says when he's done the exact opposite.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk specific policies, because you're right. Rhetoric, in our rhetoric, we can say things, but let's talk about policies. That's what matters. It's how we govern. So how is this administration doing when it comes to religious freedom in America?
Yeah, not well, Tony. And I think the best way to put it succinctly is that you've seen religious freedom really be deprioritized and supplanted and replaced by a focus on LGBT activism, really. So just for example, on the day he was inaugurated, he puts out an executive order saying that across the federal bureaucracy, the Bostock decision that recognizes gender identity, sexual orientation is now going to be applied wherever you see the word sex appear in federal statutes. Last year, he issued an executive order establishing a White House Gender Policy Council to make sure that the LGBT rights movement is being advanced in federal policy. One other thing, there's memorandums and executive orders all over the place. He dismantled President Trump's White House Faith and Opportunity Initiative, replacing it with an initiative that, again, is going to really try to look at LGBT issues. And one other thing, Tony, is he made sure that we didn't have a ministerial for advancing religious freedom abroad, which we had under the previous administration under Mike Pompeo. So it seems at every turn, unfortunately, rather than focusing on religious freedom, which is protected in our Constitution, LGBT activism and the LGBT agenda has risen to the forefront of this administration.
Well, to that point, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, made very clear that as he sees it, there's no hierarchy of rights, where the previous administration made very clear that religious freedom was the number one priority, especially in our foreign policy.
Oh, and again, concrete. The president can say what he wants in this proclamation, but action speaks a lot louder than words. And again, under the previous administration, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just really, and you were a part of the ministerial that they had, really raising to the forefront, making sure that religious freedom is being protected abroad. And this administration, instead, they put out a memorandum making sure that United States diplomacy and foreign assistance is focused on the rights of LGBT folks. That's a memorandum that the president put out last February. So again, it's just a really inverting of, our Constitution protects religious freedom. President Trump did a marvelous job making sure that was a priority of his administration. It seems the current president does not at all have the same priorities.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking more about that as we take a look further at the policies of this administration after the first year. David Closson, always great to talk with you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks for coming in.